The Instructor Podcast with Terry Cook, talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.
I mean, I kind of want to bring this back to the sort of the wellbeing, mindfulness side, but just before we do, I'm going to say that you genuinely made me laugh out loud today, because I went on and you'd obviously booked a slot with me to come on and do this, and you in the section to write in your bio, and I'm just going to recite one thing you put because it genuinely made me laugh out loud. A keen advocate of self-love, I'll happily discuss why wanking for well-being is totally okay, but being wanky about well-being is not. I've not heard it phrased that way before, because I know kind of your tagline is well-being without the wank. So I just wonder if you could spend a moment just giving us your definition or your take on what well-being is and sort of the idea behind well-being without the wank.
Well, for me, well-being is about being physically and mentally well, looking after yourself, putting yourself first and looking after number one. Because if you don't look after yourself, how can you service other people? It can be very difficult if you're a parent or if you've got a busy job. And I completely understand, I don't get a lot of time away from my children. And I know that there are times when I really struggle to factor in time. But for me, it's about making sure that you are putting your well-being first, because if you don't, then there's no way that you can function. When I first started learning about meditation, there was a lot of very woo-woo stuff. Lots of very spiritual kind of people that would talk about surfing to a higher plane and getting in contact with the chakras and all the stuff about crystals. And I find that really fucking scary. There's and there are people that say that that meditation doesn't count if you're not meditating for at least 50 minutes at a time. And well, fuck that. Who how many people have got 50 minutes every day to meditate? Some people have, a lot of people don't. And it's about bringing it to a level where it isn't so scary for people. I did post a question in one of the groups that I'm active in, and I asked, what is self-love to you? No judgment. I just wanted to know how everybody else thought about self-love. And obviously, for some people, it's a spa day. For some people, it's sitting down and having a cup of tea on their own in silence with no interruption. It could be having your nails done, having your hair done, going for a beard trim. It could be all of those kind of things that feel like you're being pampered. Or it could be sitting and meditating for 5 minutes. It could be sitting and meditating for an entire day. It is entirely up to you. But there was one person that commented that, none of this superficial nonsense of getting your hair done and going for a spa day. It's about, and it was a proper wanky woo-woo kind of response of self-care or self-love doesn't count unless you're meditating for more than 50 minutes and getting in contact with your chakras and surfing to a higher plane and speaking to the universe. Well, no, fuck that. That's not for everybody. Meditation and mindfulness is about teaching yourself to be present in the very moment that you are in, not thinking about 10 minutes time or 10 years time, not thinking about 10 minutes ago or 10 years ago, just being in the now and training your brain not to go off on tangents and set you into a worried frenzy of, oh shit, I've only got 5 followers on Facebook. How am I ever going to grow my business? Well, you've got 5 followers, it will grow.
I have to say, I've had quite a few people on this season around about the same mindset and mindfulness and that kind of stuff. And us driving instructors are quite a straight-laced bunch at times. And I think the way you've just described it is a way that's going to sit in with most of us quite nicely. But I want to touch back on, you've spoken there about what is self-love. So I think before I open up, I'm just interested to know, what's your idea of self-love? What works for you?
For me, it's simply taking care of your needs, knowing what it is that fulfills you, knowing what it is that makes you feel safe, knowing what it is that makes you feel fulfilled. And it can be anything. It could be as simple as sitting on the sofa and having time with your family. It could be having a fucking spa day. It could be having a spa week. It can be sitting and meditating for 5 minutes. It can be anything, but it's knowing yourself well enough to know how you need to take care of yourself. That's self-love for me.
Do you find that, like, for you, then it changes almost from day to day to what you need on each day?
Definitely. But earlier in the week, because I lost my mum earlier this year, she was the one person that I could rely on to always be there. We had a chat every other day on the phone. We saw each other at least one day every week. And it's been a massive gap in my life since she went. And this week, the grief has really hit me hard. And it was just, I drove past the car that took her away from her home and transferred her to the mortuary. And it just set off this real sadness in me, because there were so many things that, you know, we had planned, so many things that we thought that we would do before she died. She'd just gone through 6 months of cancer treatment and cancer therapy and was thinking of going back to work, and she just passed away. And all of this week, I've had to really listen to myself and allow myself to feel whatever I'm feeling and just let my thoughts and feelings do what they need to. So I've allowed myself that time. I've given myself the permission, and I've loved myself enough to know that, yeah, it feels shit this week, but it's going to get better.
So, I mean, like you've said there, you give yourself permission. I think that's a brilliant phrase, because that's something that I struggle with. I'm sure a lot of people struggle with, where you feel like, for example, this week, I had a day where I was struggling and I knocked a couple of lessons on the head, and I kept come home early. And the idea was, I'll come home early and I'm just going to sit. And like you said, I could tell what I needed. It was not to do much. I didn't know what I needed to do, but I couldn't engage my brain. But then as soon as I'd stopped, the guilt kicked in. That guilt of, right, well, you've let students down. You know, you're almost letting my family down because now I'm not earning money. You know, there's that side of it. So I suppose a double barrel question there, in that, is that something you'd experienced, and how, or what advice would you give to people getting over that? Because I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking that.
We all beat ourselves up. We always think, you know, we're letting so-and-so down, we're letting so-and-so down. But one thing you have to consider as well is, if you don't do what you need to do, you're letting yourself down. And by letting yourself down, you're letting everybody else down around you, because you really do need to make sure you're putting yourself first. If you'd have done those lessons, would you have been on your top form? Would you have come away from those lessons thinking, yeah, I served those people well today? Probably not. So you will have a better lesson with them next time you have a lesson, knowing that you've given yourself the time to just do what you need to do.
The Instructor Podcast with Terry Cook, talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.